And I'm Dr. Brooke.
And I'm Dr. Lynn. Welcome,
Hello.
everybody, to our live
Fun
Life
times.
with your Kids.
It's
Kids
weird because we don't see each other that often, and we're just coming off of 2 days of seeing each other. Now we're back on a live again. So,
Yes, we had
um,
2-day meetings in Nashville and had some nice, productive time working on things to bring to you guys, and also had some friend time and dinners. And gosh, Nashville is beautiful. If you live there, can totally see why it is one of the fastest growing cities. It has a lot to offer. And springtime, I was enamored by the early spring that happens there, as in Omaha, we are still in the brown season. We'll
I
be
hear
there
you.
for a few more weeks.
It's getting green here ish, but there's something to be said for being able to sit on a patio and enjoy your dinner with an Aperol spritz with the sun going down. And it was cool in Nashville doing that. But it like you wouldn't be doing that right now. Like I was at my son's lacrosse game yesterday and I was bundled up in a jacket and a scarf and gloves because it's still pretty chilly in New England. So it's always
It's
nice to get a
winter.
little reprieve. And I
Yes.
agree. Nashville, we were in Franklin. What a nice, like downtown Franklin was so cute. If if you don't live there and you've never been and you get a chance, you should definitely go and check it out. I
Yeah,
think it's a
it's
pretty
a
nice
great,
area of
it would be definitely a great couples getaway. Just
yeah,
a good solo place to go, very safe, easy to get around.
I agree. Girls
But
trip too.
yes, yeah, girls trip. So
Yep.
we're not here to promote Nashville though, although
No, I could talk a lot about
we could,
it.
we could. We're actually talking about, we're reaching out to those of you that have seniors this year. And, we're in the final stretch. My daughter told me the other day that she has 26 days of school left, of her entire schooling career before college, obviously. And it's a busy time. And so our goal today is to come on here and talk with you guys about some ways to manage that, specifically when it comes to what you're feeling
Yeah.
and all of the feelings that go into that.
I can't believe that it doesn't feel like we should be that close to the end of the year already. 26 days. That's like less than that's not very much. That's hard to believe.
Yeah, I know. I was shocked by that myself. And if you have a senior, you know that they barely go to school anyway. So,
Right.
that is just gonna click right by.
It
Um,
sneaks up on you. And how are you feeling? Because I remember where I was at that time with my first. How are you feeling?
Yeah, so this is why I wanted to bring that up, because I really feel like it is. I mean, between the mother-daughter brunches and the speeches
Oh,
and
that's sweet.
the yeah, no, it's our school arranges that, by the way. The 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 breakfasts and the gosh, all the stuff that's coming up for us, dance competitions and the final stages of those for her dance career in high school. There are so many things and activities and so many people, interactions happening, that I really feel like there's very little time left to feel anything.
Mm,
And so that's why I was reflecting a little this morning. And I do think it's important to find those moments here and there, find some stillness in the chaos, so to speak, or in the busyness. And by the way, a lot of that stuff is so fun. So you get swept up in it
mhm.
and you're carried along on the wave. But I think it's important to find those little moments to process and think about what will be happening, because I think the tendency can be to just rush, rush, rush to the finish line. And then come September, basically you've been stuffing all these feelings into like a hamper, and you've got to pull them out, because now you have this big hamper full of dirty laundry, and you don't know what to do with it. I
Yeah.
don't know about that analogy. I mean, that was a good mom analogy, but well, you've been through it. Tell me about your first experience with that, and from the graduation to, say, September experience for you.
Yeah, it was a crazy time for me and I wrote a lot about it. I have a couple articles on the blog just because writing was like sort of cathartic. And I do recall, and Anthony is a lacrosse player, which happens in the spring. So, like, for me, all of that fun stuff was happening, like our senior day and the banquet and the last whatevers. They were all happening at that last push of the year. It was like we came back from spring break and just fun after fun after fun. And I really, for me, just tried to stay in those present moments and just enjoy every piece without thinking about him leaving because I didn't want to get into a mode of like being, I mean, you can't not think about it because you know they're leaving, it's on your mind, but I didn't want to get into a mode of like feeling sad and sorry for myself when there was so much celebratory things to be doing. And I really wanted it to be a time of celebration of him and his school and all of our time together. And I went into summer like that too. It started to hit me more in summer, but we had our big trip at the start of the summer that year. And I remember saying to you, like, I am just compartmentalizing. I'm not even thinking about him leaving yet because I want to be present on this trip. I want to enjoy it. I don't want to be sad. I just want to be here in this moment and enjoy the heck out of it. And after that, when it's time, like August comes, then I'll start to deal. And right or wrong, that's the way I approached it. I did fall apart a little bit when he left for school, but I'm not sure if I had done that differently, if it would have led to anything different when he did leave, because you can feel your feelings in the midst of it, but like it's also not going to change them when they actually leave. And that first night you get home and they're no longer in their bed, that nothing prepares you for that, right? It's like you just have to go through all the stages.
Yeah, I think that was good. Good for me to hear because I'm really not feeling a lot about it. And you wonder, well, can I deal with some of this sooner so that, I was your friend going through that. And I knew that you hit that sort of place where it suddenly rushed in,
Yep.
sort of like the awareness and the grief. And so in hearing you share that, and being proactive in the way that we are, and we always try to approach things with you guys as well. My thought process was, are there things that you can do to process along the way that would make that a little bit
Mm,
softer of a blow? But from what I'm hearing, you're going to hit that. You're going to hit that anyway. Be prepared for it, but you
yes.
can't really be prepared for it. But give yourself a break along the way. And, some of these things that we're going to share with you today, I've got a few tips on just, practical ways to grab that stillness and what to do when you do catch a free moment.
Sure.
Some healthy expressions of that. I guess maybe don't put so much pressure on you to like be prepared or
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
yeah.
Yeah, and I think I'm glad we're going to have this conversation because I do think I'm interested to hear what you have to say about like the little tips. I can recall being very focused on my own self-care because I knew that it was going to be hard, and I remember like thinking, well, the best one of the best things that I can do is take care of myself in the midst of it so that I was feeling as emotionally balanced and physically healthy and well rested as possible. So I do remember trying to take time for that, and maybe had I followed through with some of the tips that you're going to give us, maybe had I followed through with some of those tips, I wouldn't have had, like, I recall moments, and I shared this with you, but I don't know if you remember, like in this when the summer came, that I just would be like sitting. There was one time we were out to dinner like a week or two before he left, and another time that I was talking to my middle son where I just like lost it. It just out of the blue lost it and had to like excuse myself and go to my room. And the other time in the parking lot and just have like a really good hard cry. And I I don't maybe having things in place. I mean, listen, we can only do what we can do. And
Well,
can't
here's the deal. I mean, practicing self-care is one of them. None of these tips are revolutionary. They're all things that you've heard of, but they're just today it's a reminder to, well, are you actually doing
right.
these things, right? Take a mental checklist. You may have heard it before, but are you doing it? Gosh, I guess I'm just going to be vulnerable here for a moment and wonder why I don't feel more of that. Maybe as I get closer, I will. I know my husband my husband tends to be the person who wears his heart on his sleeve. I mean, he's very manly, don't get me wrong, but he's very in touch with his emotions and I admire him so much for that. And so part of me is like, what's wrong with you? Are you like just a frigid person? Your youngest and your only daughter is moving away. Why aren't you more breaking down at dinner or having these emotional, I guess, you know, episode's not the right word, but having these emotions,
I know what you
period,
mean.
full stop.
Yeah.
And so my thought was, gosh, well, perhaps if you create some time to feel something, you would. But it's just maybe a testament to how we're all different, like, so that you're handling it a little bit as you go along. So is Mark. And I tend to be that very practical, like, this is part of life, like, can't really change it, can't control it. So let's just keep going forward, make the best of it. But at the end of the day, we all feel a certain way about that. And I don't know. I'm hoping it comes on here sooner or later.
Well, I am so glad that
Friendship
you
advice right
felt
now.
brave enough to like say that, because that's a brave thing to do, to share what you just shared. And I think that you're probably going to make some other moms listening feel better, because they're probably in the same boat and wondering why they aren't having all that emotional upheaval. And just because maybe you're not wired that way, and that doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you, or like you're any less of a mom or anything. It's just the way that you handle things. It just may be the way. It has nothing to do. Gosh, I've watched you for years with your daughter. You're like the best mom I know. You guys are so tight. Like, I don't know of many mother daughter relationships stronger than yours, if any. So I don't think it says anything about that. It's probably just the way that you handle things. And it's ironic that you
I
put
hope
this.
it's that and it's not a case of denial, because you're
Well,
right.
me
We
too.
are very close and we spend a lot of time together. And to just, have it come to a day where poof, that is no more. That's my impetus for, like, preparation for, like, taking steps to
Feel
try
it
to
now.
mitigate that.
It's so it's
I'm
funny
gonna
that
I'm gonna be on your doorstep on, she goes to school on August 2nd or whatever, August 9th. I'm gonna be on your doorstep on August 11, just this, like, puddle of
you might be. I'm wondering
mess.
that in my mind. I didn't want to like make give you any fear, but I'm like, either she's just this is how she handles it, or she's gonna like lose it when the day that like on the flight home.
Yeah.
It's one or the other. But I think it's the approaches, because I'm thinking of it as like tips. You're so emotional, tips to like help you along with the emotions, and you're thinking of it like tips to get me to feel some emotion, which is so funny because
Okay,
it's the
so
opposite of
here,
the way I operate.
we'll launch into our list, because honestly, you could use it for either or. So no matter which camp you land in, these tips are great for it. And again, full disclaimer, these aren't groundbreaking tips. You're gonna have heard some of these things before, but we're gonna talk about them, and it's just your today's reminder to actually, pick one of them, spend a little bit more time, put a little more effort into whatever you already are doing, so that you can square away some of those emotional feelings that you are having about your children leaving. So the first is just to identify and name it, right? So um, I think that a lot of times when we're feeling a certain way, we don't really take the time, especially in the busyness, to just stop and go, okay, like, I know something's not settled. What is that feeling? Is it hunger? Is it
Mhm.
tiredness? Is it sadness? Is it grief? What is that thing that I'm feeling? And I really think that's a useful practice. I do feel that you need to, like, sort of step back and make that a practice, make that a habit. Because otherwise, you know what happens? We feel
Mhm.
it turns into irritation. We don't know how to channel it because we've never identified it to go, okay, well, I'm hungry. Guess what? You need to eat something. If
Mhm.
you're sad, guess what? You need to comfort somehow.
Right.
Go to someone who can help you feel better. And if we don't identify it, we misplace it, and it's all of a sudden it's, yelling at your husband in the kitchen, or,
Mhm.
you do the things that you're not proud of because you're you're not channeling your emotions properly by not understanding them.
Yeah, that's such a good point, and this just played out in my own life the other day, and I shared it with you because we there was a meeting that was had, and we were talking later in the evening at dinner, and we were talking about like how we were feeling about it, and just different things. And I was like, I'm questioning a little bit myself here because I should be excited and I don't feel super excited. And then I paused for a second and said, but I'm also completely wiped out and super hungry. So it
Mm,
might just be that. It might not be that. It might be that this is actually like a really great thing and I'm super excited about it, but I can't get there because physically I'm just wiped, you know? So I think that's a concrete example of what you're
that's a great
talking about,
example.
of just
Mhm.
being able to understand that and know that, because it's easy to misplace things if you aren't self aware and you don't give yourself a minute to take everything into account.
Yes. Yes. So we have our think to talkers, right? And our talk to thinkers. Have you heard this before?
No.
So I'm a think to talker. I have to think first
Mm.
before I can talk it. And then we have those people that actually need to talk it before they can think it. And I think you might be because of that strong
Oh,
communication talent, right? So just know that about yourself too. If you might just need, if you're not that person who can, like my tendency would be to go sit down and just stare out the window and think. It'll come to me. I'll figure out what it is that's going on in my gut and I'll name it and then do something about it, right? If you're not that way, you might need to go. This is where your girlfriends can come in and you can sit and call someone up or text somebody and say, "Hey, I'm having a moment. I don't know what's going on. Do you have time to let me bounce this off of you?" So, yeah, just ask yourself what you're feeling. Try to pinpoint that specific emotion. And even it could be just something very general and you're not even sure the reason, but at least identify, are you angry? Are you sad? Are you lonely? What is that overarching emotion so that you can proceed forward? So, good.
and by the way, that's huge too, because if you do take a moment, you know, like we talk about, we need to control the things we control. So if you can take a step back and name it, know what it is, and maybe it's a couple of things, but if one of them is you're feeling really crummy because your blood sugar tanked, or you're hungry, or you didn't get enough sleep last night and you're wiped out, well, that's something you can control. So
Yes.
like go get a snack, catch your breath for a second, make sure you know what I mean. So it's an
Yes.
important thing.
We already mentioned practicing self care. I mean, that just is such a helpful tool when you're not sure what you're feeling, when you're feeling all the feels. Get yourself out on a walk. If you're a runner, take a run. Um, you know, just be, go have a nap, be in
Yep.
nature, so the power of just getting
Mm,
outdoors and looking at some
mhm.
trees can totally change your day, transform your day. So, um, taking care of yourself is going to help you build that resilience. So that's what you said. That was one of the healthiest things that you saw that you did for yourself during that
Mhm.
time when you're the summer of senior year was to do that so that you felt stronger to handle. You couldn't change what was coming down the pike,
Yeah.
but you could build yourself up and feel stronger to handle it.
Yeah, that's beautifully said. You can't change your circumstances. Very often we can't, but we can change our approach to them, and we can build resilience so we can handle the things that come our way in a better fashion, and we can bounce back from them in a better way, right?
All right, and this third one I love. It's expressing your feelings creatively. Sorry, not
Mm,
creatively. That's certainly not a word.
I knew what you meant. I'm sure everyone else did too.
So, creating work, art, writing, music, those are all wonderful outlets for us to be able to channel our emotions, understand our emotions, and to be able to compartmentalize them better. Um, we all, I think, have a different preferred outlet that we like to use. I know you're a writer. You
Mm.
you can feel that through your words. I think for me, it's music. Hey,
Oh,
guess what
I
I'm
was
going to
just
do?
going to ask you what yours was.
I'm not listening to enough music right now.
It's so funny how we do these calls
I'm
and
writing.
talks
We're
together,
writing
and
this.
you
I know
solve our own
because we
problems.
do this for. I do this for me, selfishly, honestly, but hopefully it's helping someone else as well. But we're writing the book. We're in final edits. It's going to be published in September, so there's a lot of things happening with that. And ordinarily, I would play my playlist in the morning, and or we're in the car and we're jamming out, and I'm not. "No, I'm not doing that." And that, huh, was so good.
I
Sorry.
bet you
I'm
that's
just having an aha moment over here.
no, it's good. And I'm so glad you did that because I guarantee you that there's other people listening and going like creative outlet and you think about like, oh, writing, no, painting, no, like like I at least that's where mine goes, like my mind, the traditional types of things. But you saying like, oh, music, like I bet you nobody would have or few people would have thought, oh, that could be a creative outlet. And not it doesn't even have to be you playing an instrument. It could just be that you get in that flow and you enjoy music, you enjoy a good playlist, and you take some time to enjoy that. Same thing with something like crocheting or knitting, if that's something that you like to do. And those things, if you really enjoy them, can also be meditative
Oh,
because they help you come to the present moment, let everything else that's going on in your world go, and just be really mindful of what's happening at that moment. And I think when we're going through the launch of our kids, like right in the throes of it, when those last couple months are waxing and waning, being able to have the gift of something in your life that quiets all that noise and allows you to just come to the present moment with yourself and let it go for a couple minutes is such a nice reprieve.
that's a perfect segue into our next one because you mentioned meditation and practicing mindfulness, and that is actually our
Oh,
next
I
tip.
didn't even
But
know.
but from the angle, I'll just throw this in there. If you're having any anxiety or stress around the fact of, is this child prepared? Maybe they're leaving and going very far away, and you're nervous. Who's
Hmm.
going to be in their dorm? Like you're not there to protect them. So if you have some of that, sort of angst built up
Yep.
around this whole process, practicing that mindfulness and meditation is going to help so much because it's literally taking you out of your stress nervous system, the stressful part of your nervous system that's designed to be there to, you know, it's your fight or flight, right? And put you into that growth and repair part of your
Mm.
nervous system. It shifts you. It's like turning off the gas pedal and just putting on the brakes for a moment and letting your body reset and get back to the business of just regenerating, repairing, healing, which you need those moments
Oh my gosh,
so much.
yes. So much. And it's so funny sometimes that we get on these calls and you and I didn't talk at all about what we were going to talk about. And it's like we're living parallel lives. It's so weird. That happens. I feel like that happens to us a lot. But I've just recently have had a sense of and I think this is similar. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but with meditative and mindful, I'm not the person that can sit. I can't do traditional meditation where I sit like in it. No, that's I just can't do it. And that's why I go to things like if you like to crochet or you walk and it's quiet, it's still a form of meditation because you're
Hiking in
mindful, right?
nature. Yep.
But one thing that I want to say here that I think is really important for our listeners to hear, and it's been really impactful for me, and actually I shouldn't even say it's been impactful because I think I just started it today, so okay, that's maybe not been that impactful, but I think it will have the power
It
to be.
will
And
be.
and I used to practice this or be more aware of it several years ago when I was in practice, and I would talk to several
Okay.
of my patients about it who were women, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, like."
I'm
That's
on the edge of my
huge.
seat. Tell us,
I
tell
know.
us.
I'm talking it up, and now I'm going to say it. You guys are going to be like, like no big deal. But anyway,
Okay.
just being quiet, like letting things be quiet. Like so, for example,
Mm,
went to see my own chiropractor before I came here, and ordinarily I'm wanting a distraction. I'm wanting to listen to a podcast or
mm.
have some music going or do anything I can do to keep my mind off of what I'm dealing with. I'm just and I do it like you guys, I'm folding laundry and I'm listening to a podcast or an audiobook. I'm washing the dishes at the end of the night and I've got something going. I always have some sort of noise and distraction. And I label it as I like to learn and know new things and I'm being productive because I can do two things
You're
at once. And
stacking your
yes, you're
habits. Yep.
stacking.
Stacking your
And
time.
that can be a very good thing. Don't get me wrong. Like don't cross that off the list, but there's also like moderation and being aware of when you're doing it in a bad way. The same thing we talk about, like it can be fun to sit down and watch a mindless show or enjoy a glass of wine, but if you're doing that all the time to numb yourself or to distract you from something else, that's not a healthy thing. And I think we can have the tendency to do that. And sometimes being mindful or meditative can just be quieting all that
Right.
noise and just getting
Yes. So what
comfortable
I'm
with
hearing
being
you
quiet
say is
with
that
yourself.
just make sure you're not running away from those feelings into the busy, into the numbing, into the And the test for that, the litmus test for that is, can you sit and be quiet? Because if you can do that with ease, chances are you're dealing with whatever's happening. But if something's nagging at you and it's hard to just do that, then you've got some stuff you've got to square away and maybe start there.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, and that's what it I hate I'm making this about me and maybe I shouldn't, but I think this applies to the situation we're talking about because we're going to have moments when your kids are getting ready to launch that you feel really uncomfortable and not great,
Mhm.
right? So keep that in mind as I talk here, but I just before I went to my chiropractor's appointment, I don't need to get into what happened, but something happened and I was just really here's the situation where I was like really uneasy, felt like just wiped out and just like I just was shaken a little bit. And part of me wanted to go, "Why are you so tired? You're always so tired." But then to your point as we started talking earlier, I'm like, "Hold on a second. Are you tired or is there something that's working on you? There's something working on you." Now, my natural tendency would have been to get in the car to go to my appointment and just I went to turn on, I don't know what it was, like a podcast. And I was like, "Brooke, your mind is reeling so much. You've got so much junk up there, so much going on. Just turn it off and just try to give yourself a chance to just breathe and relax for a second instead of needing like you're already overstimulated."
Yeah.
And
Shifting out of that, again, cortisol when you're, rushing, or even, thinking or upset or worked up or worried, you're in that sympathetic nervous system. And that quiet is what brings you over, switches you over, and can give you that reduced sense of stress, calm your mind, and that's the space that allows you to process those feelings, right?
right.
Good. Love
Yeah,
it.
and sorry I hijacked that
No,
meditation
I think that was a
piece,
great
but
example. I love it.
so
I would
I yeah, go ahead. No,
I
go
was
ahead.
just
I've
going to
talked
say
too much.
that's we're coming to the last one, which is seek support. So
Yeah.
that's what we're doing here today, right? You're bouncing that off me. I'm bouncing things off of you. We've got like 2 chapters in our new book about that, about building friendships. I know so many of you are struggling with that quite a bit, and it's a real pain point. But there's going to be somebody around you who's experiencing what you're experiencing, and make that first move to reach out to them and help each other, to better process what you both are going for. That's a great shared bonding moment, a great way to bring two people together and share that relatable experience, so that you guys have the first of many of those,
Mhm.
hopefully, in your relationship.
Absolutely. And beyond that, I will take that even a step further and if you don't feel like you have somebody in your life that you can talk to about those things and maybe you even do but you just need to go a little deeper like there's no shame in working with a professional or finding a good counselor that suits you or a therapist because you don't have to just hit this phase of life and think like yes, it's everybody goes through it and it's a normal phase of life and it's hard and it's unsettling and it can be really overwhelming and off-putting and it's okay to admit that and to find somebody that you can work through those feelings with. I mean, we've got the kids are leaving, we might have older parents that we need to be taking care of. We've got menopause, we're getting older. There's a lot of things ladies that we're grappling right now with and it's okay to not it's okay to feel a little bit undone
It's
and
okay to
do
not be
something about
okay,
it.
right? And I love
Yeah,
that you mentioned talking to a professional. That's always an option. And if it is really something that continues to come up for you over and over,
sure.
that's a great option. Your friends, sometimes with the spouse, it's hard, right? Because you also want to protect them, and they're not necessarily a great place. They're What are you laughing at?
I'm laughing because you need to protect Mark because he's a major weeper, but Kenny's like doesn't need any protection.
So there again,
Go
all
on.
relationships are different.
Everyone's different. But you're right. I didn't mean to steal your thunder. Please say what you need to say because it's important.
Well, I just thought, like, we talk. You have to talk about the real things, and you don't cover that over. You don't, candy coat that.
Hmm.
But sometimes just delving into that, if it's something that you really just need to work through as a woman, finding your place, feeling relevant as a mother, um, finding more purpose and knowing you need that now that the kids are getting
Mhm.
older, gosh, the husband can be a great place, but I tend to think there's probably a better route for that. And for one, it's the Life After Kids community. Come here, dump, not
Right.
dump it on us, but dump it on us. We can handle
Yeah.
it. Take
Yep.
your questions. We love that. We're going through it too. Uh, just relying on women, I think, finding that group, that circle that can help guide you, the right people, that can and they will guide you through where you need to get to.
Yeah, that's so good, and I agree with you 100%, like, as much as we want to foster really good and healthy relationships with our spouses or who is our partner in our life, it's not always, I don't think, the right format, because if they're not feeling the same way as you and they are approaching it differently, then it can be, and not that they even mean it, but a little minimizing to you, or like you take a step back and go like, well, what's wrong with me then? Like, why are they just breezing through this? And I think stereotypically that would be like what a lot of fathers might do, right? Or like
Yeah.
a lot of men might just back away from those feelings. And I don't know.
Well,
I
and
could be way off base
they
there,
may,
but
again, we're being general, but they may want to
totally.
fix it and you may just want to talk.
Yeah,
So then
that
you just
too.
need to talk it out if you're a talk to thinker, right? So you're a talk to thinker and you go to your husband and basically you're going to come up with your own answers, but you're needing that person to spitball at, to bounce things off of. And what you're doing to him though, of course, is he loves you, hopefully, and he
Yeah.
wants to make things better. So he's like, all right, solution, 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 solution. And he's just throwing those at you. And you will get there. Sometimes it's best to protect the marriage from in that
Hmm.
aspect and find those other talk to thinkers or the think to talkers. Those are the
Hmm.
best combinations because those think to talkers are listening. They're doing deep listening to you as you talk, and they're going to help you work through that after some careful consideration. So that's where
Yeah.
partnerships are beautiful
Yeah.
between friends. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like
That's great.
ours.
Yeah, I
Just
know. We are exactly what you just said. You're
like
the thinker, I'm the talker. You
that's all.
poor thing.
Well, no,
You gotta listen to a lot of hot air.
I got a lot going on up here. Sure. All right.
Oh, that's funny. I appreciate this conversation, man. When you bring it that was great. Like your tips, everything, the thoughtfulness in it, it was wonderful. So I know that you helped a lot of moms, and it was a good and needed conversation. Um, and I know, I mean, we're in this season, right? Senior year, graduation's coming. A lot of moms are thinking through this. So I appreciate, and I know they appreciate your vulnerability and taking the time to bring those tips. And ladies, thank you for joining us. Make sure you're following us on all of our social media feeds: Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube if you prefer to watch, or we're on iTunes, Spotify, like we're everywhere basically. And we've got a lot of free resources for you on the website www.lifeafterkids.com. Resources tab, you'll find them all there. Um, I hope you guys have a great day. I hope you're all weathering the senior year and end of school year storm.
Absolutely. And take some time today to feel your emotions.
Have a great day, ladies. That was good. The ending was good. You
Yeah.
should travel every day before we get on a call.